Hey guys, how you doing? This is Chris Atchison with the Southwest Florida RE Group powered by MVP Realty. And today's video is going to be some tips and tricks, information, considerations for my out-of-state buyers that are considering buying a home in Southwest Florida. And this will be the first part of this video series. I'm going to continue, try to do one every week and might have another two or three. So stick with us. So the first thing that might come as a shock to some of you guys is that you do not need an attorney to close on a home in Florida. I know it's strange, right? I mean, I work with buyers from all over the US and Canada, pretty much all over the world. And a lot of our northern states and provinces and countries require you to have an attorney in order to close on a house, whether it's buying or selling. In the state of Florida, you do not need an attorney to do that. Now, can you hire an attorney to represent you? Absolutely, and I recommend it. It's going to cost you a few hundred extra dollars, and I think it's a good idea personally. But technically speaking, all you need is a good title company, a notary, your real estate agent, and your mortgage lender, and they can take you through pretty much all of the paperwork. Yeah, so that's the first thing for you guys that might come as a bit of a shock. Second thing is, and most of you know this, there's significant savings when you're considering buying in Florida, right? So just in terms of, let's just talk about property taxes, okay? In Collier and Lee County, the county taxes are only between 1 and 1.5% of your property value, okay? Now that might come as a shock to some of you in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota. I mean, there are dozens of northern states that have much higher taxes. I think the only states that beat us out are like Delaware and Hawaii and maybe Alaska. But that is a huge benefit to living in Florida. The property taxes are extremely low. And then obviously, as most of you know, the other benefit is that there is no state income tax. Okay, so if you declare Florida as your primary residence, and whether you're on a fixed retirement income or maybe you're part-time or full-time employed still, you're going to not have to pay that 4, 5, 6, 7% state tax every year or every month or whatever your pay cycle is or your collection period. So that's a huge thing. And then on top of that, the icing on the cake is there's no estate tax and there's no inheritance tax here. Okay, and that's even more numbers, right? So the tax savings are huge here. Obviously, consult with your CPA. I'm not a tax professional. That's my disclaimer. But yeah, get a local CPA. If you need one for Florida, I definitely have a great one that I use and recommend to all my clients. So yeah. Now the other thing is, there's tax savings. There's a whole bunch of other savings that I'll get into in another video. What are some of the things that can be a little bit more expensive down here, right? It's important to budget and plan your money properly if you're making this transition or maybe an investment or just buying a vacation home. It's important to know what your out-of-pocket expenses are going to be on a monthly basis or annual basis. So as you know, a lot of homes in Florida have homeowners associations, right? It's a very common thing down here. So HOA fees are possibly something that you're going to have to consider, especially if you're buying a vacation home, because you want someone else taking care of the lawn. You prefer it in a gated community. You're not going to be there for 9+ months of the year. So it's just it's a viable preferred option for most of my vacation homeowners. If you're a primary homeowner buying down here and transitioning down here, that's obviously a different story. But for my vacation folks, that HOAs are just a fact of life. A lot of people don't like them, but they do have their benefits. You don't have to worry about the lawn. You don't have to worry about pest control, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the other expense down here is the electric bill, right? In Florida, you could be pumping out your AC at 83 degrees in the middle of February. That might come as a shock to you in some Minnesota or Maine, but it gets pretty hot down here in the winter. In the summer, it's pretty comparable. It's just very humid. But you're going to be using your air conditioner pretty extensively, and that's why when you buy a new house or you buy a resale house, you're going to want to really check out that air conditioner, because that's your biggest appliance expense that you're going to run into, right? It can run $7,000. So and because it runs all year, it's very important to assess it properly when you're considering a house and what kind of offer you're thinking about. So, and the one thing I'll say about the electrical bill, if you are thinking about getting, if you're building a home, let's say, and you're getting hurricane you're thinking about whether or not you should get hurricane glass, just get it. I mean, it's 9 times out of 10, it's worth it. Why? Because not only are you going to be getting hurricane credit on your premium, so you're going to be paying a couple $100 less per year, but you're probably at least going to save $100 a year in your electric bill. Why? Because hurricane glass is super insulative. It keeps the air conditioning in the house, right? It's super airtight, very thick, doesn't let the air get through, keeps the temperature nice and cold. Okay, so that's the huge savings about hurricane glass, and it's a nice selling point, right? So those are some of the things. I mean, obviously, homeowners insurance can be high down here. We have, some floodplains. We have hurricane risk, albeit, our hurricane risk is a lot lower than the East Coast, but we have gotten hit, obviously, Hurricane Irma. But, it's the newer the house you build, the lower your insurance will be, generally speaking, and the better off you'll be because the codes, the building codes are a lot better. So the other thing that I'm going to talk about, I guess a consideration is declaring your primary residence down here. And then I'll get into loan types as well. Not loan types, but the type of property that you're getting, the type of loan you're getting for the type of property you're buying. Okay. So declaring your residency. Many people don't know that, like tons of people declare Florida as their primary state, obviously because of the tax savings, right? Now, my recommendation is obviously speak to a CPA from Florida in Florida that can kind of guide you on that process and make sure that you don't hit any snags, you don't raise any red flags with, the powers that be, and that you just do the transition properly. But the other thing is, I guess I'll just call it the loan type. Remember, there's 3 types of residences. There's a lot more, but we'll just talk about 3, which can impact your interest rate and the type of loan that you're getting, right? So the first is obviously a primary residence. This is going to be the easiest loan to get, the most lenient loan, the easiest terms, best debt to income ratio, and it'll have the lowest interest rate. So it's the easiest to get, and it'll have the lowest interest rate. Why? Because it's your primary, right? Second type is a secondary or a vacation home. Okay, these are basically the same thing. These are going to have a slightly higher rate, right? Because they're a second home. So if you run into financial troubles, what are you going to do? You're going to sell your second home and stay in your first home, right? So it's a higher risk for the bank. So the secondary homes, vacation homes, have a little bit higher interest rate. The third category is a investment property, okay? So what is an investment property? It's a property that you plan to rent out, okay? This carries the highest amount of risk for the bank, and it also is going to accrue you with the highest interest rate, all right? So why? Because it's the riskiest type of loan or the riskiest type of investment or property that you can get. People buy and sell investment properties like they're nothing, right? Investors want to return, they'll get out quickly if they can, and sometimes it doesn't do the bank that, it doesn't benefit the bank. So the bank charges a higher interest to offset that risk, right? So these are all considerations you should talk about with your loan officer or your mortgage broker. And if you need one, feel free to reach out to me. But it is important what you tell your lender, right? And I'll just leave it at that. Stay tuned, guys, next week for some more tips and tricks on purchasing a home in Florida. It was good to see you all. Feel free to give us a thumbs up and a comment and share it with your friends. And reach out to me anytime. My number is 609-634-4419, or you can check me out at naples239homes.com. Hope you all have a great day, and it was nice talking.